What is up, guys and gals? Welcome back to the channel. I appreciate you joining me today. We've got a great day planned, lots of stuff we got to get accomplished today, and we're getting really close on this thing. Got a lot of sheet metal cut off it. It's been a couple of days since I've had some time to get into it, but it is looking good. We got all the fenders cut out. It's about time to get this tub in the back cut out, get this fuel tank back in, got my yard cleaned up a little bit because I've had parts thrown everywhere. So what we're going to do today, got some hardware for the steering setup, the drag link and the tie rod. We're going to make a panhard bar. We've already got one, but it needed to be modified a little bit, so we're going to do that. We're going to drill out the holes all in the knuckles. The drag link and the tie rod are going to use 3/4 inch bolts, so we got all that stuff. Went over to Tacoma Screw here locally. Always have the good stuff, and we got all the hardware that we need here. So this should be everything that we need. We got some bolts for the shocks, and steering stabilizer. Excuse me, actually that's not it. Steering stabilizer. Yeah, also steering stabilizer. And then all of the bolts that we need for the knuckles. Some beefy boys. So got all that stuff. Got some new welding wire because we're gonna need that. Gonna make the holes that we need bigger. I got to drill out the pitman arm. Probably gonna try to get that tub cut out in the back today. I need to finish making some shock tabs. I cut some of those out the other day. They're somewhere around here. Need to grind those down a little bit, drill some holes in them, make sure that they work on one side and duplicate it for the other in the rear. Just need to make the upper shock mounts for that. So that's next step. I think I need to adjust the back a little bit too. No big deal. The top link, the kind of the third wishbone link there at the top needs to be adjusted a little bit, but we're cruising right along. We're getting close. We're down to the last little bit. I opened up the plastic piece. I think I said this on one of the other videos too, possibly, but opened up this, I think they call it the header panel that holds the headlights. And of course the tabs that are broken off on mine from hitting a deer are broken off on the new one from not hitting a deer, but just from shipping. So I had to order a new one of those. It's not going to be here until next week, which I can probably use my old one for the time being to get everything lined up and then swap it back out. Because part of making the bumper is I can weld the whole thing complete and get it bolted on here. The tubing that lines up, we want to make sure it lines up with the headlights and things like that. So I really need to get the front end reassembled and back together. But all this stuff's cut, so really I can start getting some of these things back in place in the front too. The new radiator needs to go in here. And then we just really need to get all this stuff tied back up too. It's hanging on by zip ties right now. So it's not too much of a job up here, but we do need to get all that stuff assembled, and it's just one more thing we got to get done. So like I said, I think it's looking pretty good. I did get 2-inch spacers, and I got those for the front and the rear. I like the way that it sits. I'd like it to sit a little bit wider just because of the height of it. I also ordered 3/4 inch spacers for the front coil spacers to push it up a little bit. When it was sitting on its own weight, it's about 1.5 inches higher in the rear, which isn't really a big deal. It's not that much. And the two factors that come into play there are, like we said, we got to get the fuel tank back in. So a fuel tank with that weight and the fuel in it might bring that down a little bit. However, we're going to put a winch bumper on it in the front with the worn Xeon. We got Xeon 10 winch, and then the radiator goes back in, radiator fluid, some of those things. So a few factors about leveling it and bringing it down a little bit more anyways. So I have them just in case I need to level it out a little bit. I'd rather bring the front up a little bit more if I need to anyways. So we're not going to put them in right away. We're going to get everything else bolted up. Like I said, shocks in. Let's get the steering done. Get all of those pieces. We need to get the We need to get our tabs built also for the sway bar, and we're going to put those, I think, right out here. That should be pretty much where it's going. We're going to use those as well, so need to get those built, and then get like the little tabs put in, which is super easy for stashing them when they're not in use. So that's about it for today. I didn't share everything from cutting the fenders out last time, mostly because it's a nasty process and it's just got stuff flying everywhere, and it became easier just to keep knocking stuff out than to keep switching camera angles and trying to move the thing around that. And you never know what the wind's going to do here, like 30-mile-an-hour tornado winds. Not quite tornado, it's a little exaggerative, but either way, just want to keep knocking stuff out. So I'm going to get to work on this. Stay tuned while I do all of these things. Check it out. As always, comment down below. Let me know what you think. If you got suggestions, questions, comments, I always love to hear them. Don't forget to hit that subscribe button. I haven't shown every single detail of this because honestly, 1-ton swap on 6.5-inch coils and all the stuff that goes along with it is a huge grind in just a couple of months. Not to mention tucking the tank, redoing the radiator and all the stuff that goes up front, the new bumper. It's a ton of work. It's a fair amount of work. So I'm just trying to knock it out as fast as I can, but the exciting stuff is going to come when we're putting this thing to use too. So we got a trip coming up to Moab this summer. I'm leaving this weekend to go on a little camp trip with the family, so I'm not going to have time to work on it this weekend. We're going to get back, and there's going to be some parts here that we need next week to knock some stuff out, and hopefully just try to wrap this thing up. So I'm going to get as much done today as I can, and just keep grinding away. So let's see what we can make happen. What is up, guys? So it's been a couple of days. Last time I set out to get the shocks mounted and shock tabs built for the rear, start the steering, whole bunch of other stuff I needed to get done. Well, as things go, time changes, things get in the way, it starts to rain, the family needs some stuff, whatever it is. Anyways, got the shock tabs in. Let's check those out here real quick. Mounted these guys here in the back. Got them at the right angle. I love how they turned out. I welded them down into the bottom. Obviously the one thing, and we already know this, but I guess I was surprised how thin the metal is there. It kind of burns right through, and there's, on the frame that is, or unibody, whatever you want to call it. There is metal underneath it, but it's like it's like a sleeved unibody section. I don't know. I haven't cut into the whole thing, but I assume it looks kind of like where the tabs got cut off. There's metal under metal. It's thin. Anyways, these are 3/16 brackets. That should be plenty. You know, the shocks aren't taking the brunt of the force, so they should be just fine. I'm excited about how that came out. They're in there real nice. I like the angles of everything, so I think that's great. So that was really the only thing that I had to get done in the back here was fabricate those tabs, got the shocks all bolted in. The other thing I did do, when I put it in, I did use Rough Country specs. They tell you how to measure this top link, the lower bars, all that, so that it goes with obviously the factory settings and not a 1-ton swap with Artec trusses. But it was a good starting point of reference. What I found was these springs were kind of cocked back a little bit because the axle itself was kind of pivoted back, which meant these plates were just at a little bit more of an angle. The pinion was aimed up, which I didn't mind too much, but I think it makes a little more sense for it to be a little bit more pushed forward. It really aligned the spring the right way, the pinion the right way into the transfer case, and I think it looks awesome. So I think I've already shown you this too, but obviously cut out all the fenders. There's a pain in the neck. Cut out the front fenders. Got the front shocks mounted in here as well. That is all good to go. We've got the I basically, and this is as tight can be. I don't know if you're even going to be able to see the gap. I don't know if I can get the right camera angle, but this bracket is almost right up against this bar, and that's at full turn, full bump turn. So not a big deal, because typically, let's move it back. If it's centered, there's plenty of space there. But I got the drag link built, tie rod built, everything to the correct spec, and then we actually shortened the track bar, and I sleeved and plug welded that, obviously because you need to have something that's sturdy enough. So that stuff is all done now, so pretty excited about that. I wanted to try to reuse, so they give you the quick disconnects from Rough Country, which I had. Obviously, you know, again, that goes to a stock axle. It's a direct replacement. This is far from that, but I was able to use it with my sway bar, which I wanted because, like I said, I'm going to use this on the road. I've driven stuff without a sway bar. It's not the end-all be-all, but I'm going to be putting some road time on it this summer across the country, and we want to make sure that it's stable for the fam. So pretty excited about that. It worked out really well. New drop pitman arm up there. Let's take you around to the other side. So again, Rough Country drop pitman arm, drilled that out to 3/4 inch, so we've got 3/4 inch bolts through all of that. Again, these are Artec. This is an Artec crossover steering kit with the Heims 3/4 inch Heims for high misalignment spacers in the front and just 3/4 openings in the bottom. So really excited about that. What we're doing right now, getting this Rough Country steering stabilizer in here. I liked going here. I don't love putting it to the diff cover, and I think part of that for me is that you know, I've seen that done before, and after a little while what you start to do is actually loosen up the bolts on your cover and start to ream them out. Now that would probably take quite a while to do, but I just don't love it, and I think that this is a much more solid mounting point. So we've just welded in the bracket. I really like this. This came from Rough Stuff. They got awesome stuff all the time. Love Rough Stuff. So 6-bolt clamp there for the steering stabilizer. That's super secure. Honestly, I loosened it up, and even having all 6 of those loose and the bracket loose, it was really hard to slide because it doesn't want to move anywhere. So that's awesome. Good sign. We're going to get this welded into place here. That's pretty much it, you know. Sway bar is connected on this side. I've measured my toe on everything, and we are good to go on all of that. So all of that is pretty much set. Once we get that wrapped up and we've got the steering stabilizer in, it's time to get this front end back together, which shouldn't be too crazy. Pulled the stuff out. I got to get the fan back in. I've got a brand new radiator for it, which is actually why we pulled this whole thing apart in the first place. I gotta remember, I feel like I just got a new belt for it too. I think this is a new belt. It's been sitting in here long enough, it's hard to tell, so I may just take the belt with me just so I have it. I picked up a new belt. I'm pretty sure this one's brand new too. I picked up new radiator hoses, so we're gonna throw those on here as well. I actually picked up the AC condenser. It's got some dings and things like that. And let's face it, you know, this is an 03, it's 2022. This thing is almost 20 years old, which means it could probably use a little bit of updating there. And we're gonna be in the desert of Moab a little bit this summer. We're gonna be in the Ozarks. It's hot and muggy. We wanna make sure we got air conditioning. So that's kind of the next steps. We're doing great on the front end. It's almost done. We've got the shocks in. We've got all the suspension components mounted and tightened down, so really get this steering stabilizer in and let's get this front end back together. I appreciate you guys sticking with me. I know it's been a long trek, long journey. I know it's been a long, what do you want to call it? I know it's been a long process to get through all this stuff, and I appreciate you guys watching. I appreciate you sticking in there. You know, I will mention too that I'm gonna do more like how-tos and things like that, but there's a lot of great channels out there for that. This is more me walking you through my project and what I'm doing. Happy to answer questions on it. And then once it's done too, I'm happy to, you know, show you guys more about what we do. Testing the build. This is, you know, there's a lot of, like I said, a lot of good build channels out there. And so when I can, I'm gonna do how-tos, but right now, I mean, honestly, just with work, life, family, and the projects, it is a grind to try to get this thing done. A full 1-ton swap and 6.5-inch lift, 37s, all the, you know, the new components up front, radiator and timing chain, and tucking the gas tank and welding a front bumper, and it's a lot. There's a lot to do. So I appreciate you guys watching. Hang in there because you're going to see a lot more of this thing in action real soon. Let's get the steering stabilizer wrapped up. Guys, so I was stopped abruptly. Today's another day. I can't even remember when the last time was that I updated this. I think it was 2 days ago. Yesterday I was busy doing other stuff. I usually get interrupted right at the end of this, or I'm hustling so hard that I'm working right to the last minute and I don't get a chance to kind of review what I've done. So, getting better at it, but we're in like grind mode right now anyways, between work and everything else I got going on. Just want to keep making progress. Need to get this thing done. I have less than 2 weeks before we leave in the RV to take a cross-country trip, and this thing has to be ready. So, what did I get done the other day? Let's check it out. The hood latch is latched, so that's always a good sign. Alright, so here's a quick walkthrough. Everything is done in the front end. Let's see if we can get the camera to focus. There we go. Steering stabilizer is in. It is in well. I really like the location. I think it lines up really well. Drag link is done. Tie rod is done, panhard is done, sway bar is done, shocks are all in. This thing is looking legit. I'm gonna get a little longer hardware. I mean, this guy's poking out the bottom, so I think that's fine. The other one is a little snug over there. I might go a little longer just so I got it, but anyways, little details. What you'll also notice right up here, let's see, can we focus? Can we focus? There it goes. Radiator is in. I was gonna replace the AC condenser. I started to do that and then realized I'm not going to be able to depressurize the system on my own right now. I don't have the tools to do that, and quite frankly, I don't feel like doing it. So this is going to have to go in for service at some point. I may have them swap it out. I have ordered a new AC condenser, so I have it. I don't really think any of this is going to be an issue. It's a little mangled in a couple of spots, but it's not too crazy. Also have, I think they call this a header support for the headlights. This is the old one. It's a little mangled. Some brackets are busted off the top. The pieces are busted out the front. It's from a deer. It happens. It's also, well, yeah, no, it's mostly from a deer. I didn't break that, but, well, I mean, I did. I hit the deer, but it was the deer's fault. And it's fine. I think it survived. It's probably fine. I wouldn't worry about it. So anyways, header panel's in, radiator's in, new hoses. That's all assembled. Everything's back together. So the front end's coming together, which is awesome. Which means next steps right now are to get the bumper welded. So I think I've said this before, but D-Till Fab Works. He is out of Florida. Daniel Till. Love his bumper setup. There are not many bumpers that I found that I actually like. I think all of them look gigantic, kind of like big truck bumpers. And actually, even on my big truck, let's take you up and remind you what that looks like. On my Dodge 3500, I don't want anything that's like, you know, these massive things like you're gonna hit a bull or something in the road. This setup for my truck is minimal. It allows a lot of clearance in the front end. It is pretty beat up. I've used it a lot, so actually I want to take that off at some point and paint it, but we don't need to get sidetracked now with any of that. So today, that's kind of the wrap up of all of that. The front end's in. I haven't done any of the fluids yet. That's something else I got to get done, but I'm going to wait till the end. I did do diff fluids the other day, so we recorded that. That's on one of the videos. That might be on this video. Depends on how it all gets edited together, but diff fluid has been changed front and rear. We wanted to make sure. The axles have been sitting in my yard for a couple of years. I didn't realize that till I was scrolling through photos the other day and realized that yeah, there's 2 axles sitting in my front yard 2 years ago. I've got pictures of WJs on there that I was trying to look at and figure out what I was going to do. So this project has been a long time coming. I just didn't realize it had been that long. So diff fluids changed. I gotta add motor oil back to this. So oil, filter, coolant, trans fluid needs to get topped off. Power steering may need to get topped off. Transfer case needs to get filled. We're gonna do all that at the end. So I'm gonna focus on the bumper. We're gonna get going on that. The rear, that tub needs to get cut out in the back where the spare tire was. And then I'm gonna cut down the skid plate for the gas can, or I'm going to cut down the skid plate for the gas tank, and there's a canister, the evap canister, that kind of needs to get tucked up in there somewhere. We still kind of have to figure that out. I think what I'm going to do is just allow enough room to get that up there and maybe mount it underneath somehow on top of the gas tank. I don't know. I don't even want it, but I think from what I've read, I probably should have it so my Jeep doesn't have all sorts of weird running problems. So we're getting close. Brake lines are after that. So that's it for today. I'm going to wrap up this video, which concludes the front end. The steering stabilizer, sway bars are done, panhard, all that good stuff. And the front end's back and reassembled for the most part. The grill's not on yet because we're going to wait till we get the bumper mocked up and in there and everything too. But we're making good progress. So next steps are the bumper. Appreciate you watching. Hang on and wait for the next episode. Comment down below. Let us know what you think. Let me know what you think of what we're doing. Let me know what you're doing. I'd always love to hear that. We'll talk to you soon. Thank you so much. I love you, and I'll see you next time.